Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the ocean. The surface may be restless, stirred by wind, shaped by tides, crashing against the shore with magnificent force. Yet beneath that movement, beneath the churning waves and the noise of the world, there is a vast stillness, a depth so calm, so unshaken, that nothing on the surface can disturb it. That depth is who you truly are. And learning to be happy alone is nothing more than remembering that you are the ocean, not the waves. From the moment you were born, you were conditioned to look outward for happiness. Approval, applause, companionship, achievement, recognition, these became the measures of your worth. The ego whispered, "I will be complete when someone chooses me. I will be fulfilled when others validate me. I will be happy when I am not alone." And so you began a lifelong search outside of yourself for what has always lived within you. But here is the spiritual truth that transforms everything. You were never designed to derive your joy from another human being. You were designed to radiate joy from your own divine essence. When you are alone and you feel restless, empty, or anxious, it is not because something is missing. It is because the ego has been deprived of distraction. The ego survives on noise. It feeds on comparison, on drama, on constant interaction. It needs to feel important. It needs to be seen. It needs to be needed. And when you are alone, the ego trembles because it cannot define itself without someone else to measure against. But you are not your ego. You are the awareness observing the ego. You are the sky watching the clouds drift by. The sky does not resist the clouds. It does not chase them. It does not identify with them. It allows them to pass. In the same way, when loneliness arises, you can observe it without becoming it. You can say gently to yourself, "There is a feeling of loneliness moving through me," not "I am lonely." Do you see the difference? One is an identity, the other is an experience. And experiences pass. Identity, when falsely claimed, becomes a prison. Learning to be happy alone begins with releasing the belief that aloneness equals absence. In truth, aloneness is presence. It is the presence of your soul without interference. It is the opportunity to meet yourself without masks, without roles, without performance. Who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when there is no one to impress, no one to entertain, no one to rescue, no one to blame? This is the sacred question. Most people avoid being alone because they fear what they will discover: unresolved pain, old wounds, silent grief, the ache of unmet expectations, and yet what you avoid will continue to control you. Healing begins the moment you turn toward yourself with compassion rather than judgment. Imagine an orange. When you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Orange juice. It cannot produce apple juice or grape juice. It produces what is inside. And when life squeezes you through rejection, through solitude, through disappointment, what comes out is what has been cultivated within you. If resentment comes out, it was within. If fear comes out, it was within. If peace comes out, that too was within. Being alone is one of life's greatest squeezes. It reveals what you have been storing in your inner world. And instead of rushing to escape that revelation, you can use it as a doorway to transformation. You can ask yourself, what am I cultivating inside of me? Am I nurturing self-love or am I nurturing self-doubt? Am I planting seeds of abundance or seeds of lack? The ego says, if I am alone, it means I have failed. It means I am unwanted. It means something is wrong with me. But the soul whispers, if I am alone, I am being invited into deeper communion with my source. There is a profound difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the ego's interpretation of aloneness. Solitude is the soul's embrace of it. Loneliness feels like emptiness. Solitude feels like fullness. The external circumstance may look identical, but the internal experience is shaped entirely by perception. And perception is a choice. You are not a victim of your solitude. You are a creator within it. When you begin to understand that everything is energy, you realize that your thoughts are not harmless. They are creative forces. When you sit alone and think, no one cares about me, you generate a frequency of lack. You tune yourself to scarcity. But when you sit alone and affirm, I am whole, I am complete, I am connected to the infinite intelligence of the universe, you elevate your vibration. You align with abundance. The universe responds not to your words, but to your energy. If you approach solitude with resistance, you will experience resistance. If you approach it with curiosity and reverence, you will discover treasures hidden in plain sight. There is a reason mystics, sages, and spiritual masters throughout history have sought solitude. Not because they rejected humanity, but because they understood that in silence, the voice of the soul becomes audible. In stillness, intuition becomes clear. In aloneness, the illusion of separation dissolves. You were never separate from life. You were never separate from love. You were never separate from God. The belief that you need another person to complete you is the ultimate misunderstanding of your divine nature. You are already complete. Say it within yourself, I am already complete. Feel the weight of that truth. Let it settle into your bones. When you know that you are complete, relationships transform. You no longer approach others from hunger. You approach from fullness. You do not cling. You do not grasp. You do not demand that they fill the spaces you have refused to fill within yourself. Instead, you meet them as a whole being meeting another whole being. And love born from wholeness is free. It is expansive. It is joyful. But you cannot experience that kind of love until you are willing to sit with yourself and discover that you are enough. The ego thrives on comparison. It looks at others and says, they are happier, they are more loved, they are more successful. And in that comparison, it manufactures suffering. Yet the soul knows that every being is on a unique path. There is no competition in the garden of life. The rose does not compare itself to the oak tree. The oak does not envy the sunflower. Each expresses its own nature fully and unapologetically. When you are alone, you are given the sacred opportunity to rediscover your nature. Not the nature imposed by society, not the identity constructed by childhood conditioning, but the essence that existed before you were told who you should be. If you remove the labels, parent, partner, employee, friend, what remains? Pure awareness. That awareness is not lonely, it is infinite. Happiness alone is not about isolating yourself from the world. It is about recognizing that your happiness does not depend on the world. It is about shifting from external dependency to internal sovereignty. When you depend on others for your emotional state, you hand them your power. When they are present, you feel uplifted. When they withdraw, you collapse. This is not love, this is attachment. Love says, I choose to share my joy with you. Attachment says, I need you to feel joy. There is a profound freedom in no longer needing anyone to validate your existence. When you wake up in the morning and there is silence in your home, can you experience that silence as peace rather than absence? Can you walk into a room alone and feel grounded rather than exposed? Can you sit with your own thoughts and treat them as companions rather than enemies? The practice begins gently. It begins with small moments of conscious presence. Instead of reaching for your phone at the first sign of quiet, sit with it, breathe. Listen to the hum of life around you. Feel your own heartbeat. Notice that you are alive. Notice that existence itself is a miracle unfolding within you. You are not alone. You are connected to the same energy that moves the stars, that grows the trees, that orchestrates the seasons. The same intelligence that beats your heart is beating in every living thing. How can you be lonely when you are an expression of infinite creation? The ego insists, I am separate. The soul knows, I am one. As long as you believe you are separate, you will fear being alone. But when you experience unity, aloneness becomes sacred space. It becomes a sanctuary where you can recalibrate, realign, and remember. Forgive yourself for the times you sought completion in others. Forgive yourself for the relationships you clung to out of fear. Forgive yourself for mistaking intensity for intimacy. Every experience was a teacher guiding you back to yourself. There are no justified resentments. If you are alone because someone left, because someone chose a different path, because life shifted unexpectedly, you can either harden your heart or open it wider. Resentment will keep you tied energetically to the very situation you wish to escape. Forgiveness severs that cord. Forgiveness says, I release you, I release myself, I trust the divine order of my life. When you forgive, you reclaim your energy. And that energy can now be directed inward toward healing, toward creativity, toward expansion. Imagine your life as an ocean again. Relationships are waves. Some are gentle, some are powerful. Some arrive unexpectedly and leave just as quickly, but you are not meant to chase every wave. You are meant to be the ocean. When a wave recedes, the ocean does not panic. It does not assume it will never feel movement again. It knows that tides are natural. It trusts the rhythm. Trust the rhythm of your life. There may be seasons of companionship and seasons of solitude. Both are sacred. Both are necessary. The night does not resent the day, and the day does not cling to the night. They flow into one another effortlessly. You can learn to be happy alone by shifting your internal dialogue from "I am missing something" to "I am discovering something." What if this period of solitude is not a punishment, but a preparation? What if it is the universe clearing space for a deeper alignment? What if it is an invitation to cultivate such profound self-love that any future relationship becomes a choice, not a necessity? You are not here to complete someone else. You are here to remember your divine nature and express it fully. When you are aligned with your highest self, you attract experiences that mirror that alignment. But if you are operating from emptiness, you will attract others who are also seeking to be filled. Be the source rather than the seeker. Sit quietly and repeat within yourself, "I am whole, I am abundant, I am connected, I am love." Let those words sink beyond the intellect and into your energetic field. Feel them as truth rather than affirmation. Happiness alone is not a withdrawal from life. It is an awakening to life's true nature. It is the recognition that the joy you have been searching for has been whispering inside of you all along. The ego will continue to speak. It will continue to suggest that you are behind, that you are missing out, that you are less than. But you can smile gently at that voice. You can thank it for trying to protect you. And then you can return to the deeper knowing within you. You are not your circumstances. You are not your relationship status. You are not the opinions of others. You are a divine, infinite being, temporarily experiencing human form. And in this human experience, there will be moments of aloneness. Embrace them. They are doorways. In solitude, creativity blossoms. In silence, wisdom emerges. In aloneness, you meet the one person who will be with you from your first breath to your last, yourself. Why not cultivate a loving relationship with that being? Take yourself on walks. Speak kindly to yourself. Celebrate your own presence. Become your own best companion. When you can sit in a room alone and feel content, you have accessed a level of freedom that cannot be taken from you. And from that freedom, you will love more deeply, not less. You will connect more authentically, not desperately. You will give without depletion and receive without fear. Learn to be happy alone, and you will discover that you were never alone at all. You were simply being invited back to the infinite, radiant, unshakable essence that has always been you. Be still, breathe, feel the vast ocean within. You are enough. You are whole. You are home. And as you rest in that knowing, something subtle begins to shift inside of you. The craving softens. The urgency dissolves. The silent question that once echoed, "Who will stay with me?" is replaced by a deeper, quieter truth. I am staying with myself. And that changes everything. Because most of the suffering you have ever experienced in relationships did not come from love itself. It came from the fear of losing love. It came from gripping what was never meant to be possessed. It came from confusing attachment with connection. And attachment is always rooted in fear. It whispers, "Without this person, I am nothing." But love, real love, says, "I share my fullness with you, but I do not depend on you for my existence." When you learn to be happy alone, you uproot fear at its core. You begin to see that what you were truly afraid of was not being without someone else, but being without distraction. You were afraid of meeting the silent parts of yourself, the abandoned child within, the unmet expectations, the uncried tears, the stories that formed in your mind about not being chosen, not being enough, not being worthy. But here is the divine paradox. The moment you turn toward those parts instead of running from them, they begin to dissolve. Pain persists only when resisted. Loneliness lingers only when labeled as an enemy. Sit with it. Breathe into it. Say, "You are welcome here." You may be surprised to discover that loneliness is simply love that has not yet been redirected inward. You have spent so many years pouring love outward, into partners, into friends, into roles, into achievements, yet how often have you poured that same love into yourself? How often have you sat quietly and said, "I cherish you, I honor you, I am grateful for you"? The ego calls that selfish. The soul calls it alignment. When you begin to love your own company, you shift from scarcity to abundance. Scarcity says, "I need someone to fill the silence." Abundance says the silence is sacred. Think of the sky again. The sky does not resist being empty. It does not panic when no clouds pass through. It remains vast, open, limitless. The emptiness of the sky is not a flaw. It is its nature. And within that openness, anything can appear. Sunrise, storm, starlight. Your aloneness is the open sky. It is the spaciousness that allows inspiration to arrive. It is the canvas upon which your highest self can paint. But if you clutter that sky with constant noise, endless scrolling, compulsive conversation, fear-driven attachment, you never experience its depth. You remain on the surface, mistaking activity for aliveness. True aliveness arises from presence. When you sit alone and truly inhabit the moment, you begin to notice the miracle of existence itself. The gentle rhythm of your breath, the subtle sensations in your body, the quiet intelligence guiding your thoughts. You begin to realize that you are not an isolated fragment in a vast universe. You are the universe expressing itself as you. How can the universe be lonely? The wave may believe it is separate from the ocean, but it is never apart from it. In the same way, you may believe you are separate from love, from connection, from divinity, but that separation is an illusion created by the ego. The ego thrives on identity. I am single. I am abandoned. I am unwanted. But awareness does not need labels. Awareness simply is. Say quietly within I am. Not I am lonely. Not I am incomplete. Simply I am. That statement alone contains infinite power. Before any role, before any relationship, before any success or failure, you are existence itself. And existence does not require validation. There is a profound freedom in releasing the need to be witnessed in order to feel real. You are real because you are. You matter because you exist. You do not need applause to justify your presence on this planet. When you begin to internalize this truth, something extraordinary happens. You stop chasing. You stop trying to convince others of your worth. You stop overgiving to secure affection. You stop shrinking to avoid rejection. Instead, you stand rooted in your being. And from that rootedness, you attract relationships that reflect your wholeness rather than exploit your emptiness. But even before those relationships arrive, or even if they never do in the way you expect, you remain fulfilled. Because your fulfillment is no longer conditional. The world has taught you that happiness is an event, a wedding day, a promotion, a message received, a call returned. But spiritual maturity teaches you that happiness is a state of consciousness. It is an inner agreement with life. It is the decision to align with gratitude rather than grievance. And that decision can be made alone, especially alone. In solitude, you have the opportunity to examine your inner dialogue without interference. Notice the thoughts that arise when no one is around. Do they uplift you, or do they criticize? Do they encourage, or do they condemn? The way you speak to yourself in private determines the quality of your experience in public. If you cannot enjoy your own thoughts, you will constantly seek others to escape them. But if you cultivate a gentle, compassionate inner voice, solitude becomes nourishment. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you deeply love. When doubt arises, respond with kindness. When fear surfaces, offer reassurance. When sadness appears, hold space for it. This is not weakness. This is spiritual strength. Because when you can sit in a quiet room and feel peace instead of panic, you have transcended one of the ego's greatest illusions, the illusion that you need external stimulation to feel alive. You are life itself. The heartbeat within your chest is proof of divine intelligence at work. The thoughts forming in your mind are evidence of creative power. The awareness observing this very moment is sacred presence. You are not waiting for life to begin when someone arrives. Life is happening now. Do not postpone your joy. Do not say, I will be happy when I meet the right person. Say instead, I am happy, and I will share this happiness with the right person. Feel the difference in energy. One is desperate. The other is magnetic. When you are happy alone, you become a lighthouse rather than a ship lost at sea. You stand firm in your own illumination. You do not chase passing boats. You simply shine. And those meant to dock in your harbor will find you by the steadiness of your light. But even if no boat appears, you still shine, because shining is your nature. There may be evenings when the silence feels heavy, moments when old memories resurface, nights when the bed feels too large. In those moments, resist the urge to label the experience as failure. Instead, recognize it as growth. Growth is often quiet. It happens in unseen spaces. Roots expand in darkness long before blossoms appear in sunlight. Your solitude is the soil. Trust it. Nurture it. Within it, your self-worth is strengthening. Your boundaries are clarifying. Your intuition is sharpening. Your connection to the divine is deepening. You are learning that you do not need constant affirmation to know your value. You do not need constant companionship to feel connected. You do not need to fill every moment with noise to avoid feeling empty. Because you are not empty. You are infinite. And infinity cannot be lonely. The ego fears being alone because it equates aloneness with insignificance. But the soul knows that aloneness is where the infinite reveals itself most clearly. It is in the quiet that inspiration whispers. It is in the stillness that guidance emerges. It is in the absence of distraction that truth becomes undeniable. Listen. Beneath the chatter of your mind, beneath the stories of your past, beneath the worries of your future, there is a steady presence, calm, observant, unshaken. That presence is who you are. Rest there. Let the world move around you without defining you. Let relationships come and go without determining your worth. Let circumstances shift without stealing your peace. You are not here to cling. You are here to awaken. And awakening often begins in solitude. So the next time you find yourself alone, do not ask, why is no one here? Ask instead, what is life inviting me to discover within myself? Perhaps it is creativity waiting to be expressed. Perhaps it is forgiveness waiting to be granted. Perhaps it is a deeper love waiting to be cultivated. Or perhaps it is simply the realization that you have been enough all along. Learn to be happy alone, and you will unlock a love that is fearless, a peace that is unshakable, a joy that is self-sustaining, and from that place, you will walk into the world not as someone searching to be completed, but as someone who knows they are already whole. Stay with yourself. Honor your solitude. Trust your divine nature. And remember, the ocean was never afraid of its own depth. And so you begin to sense it now. This quiet strength rising within you, not loud, not dramatic, but steady, like the sun lifting itself over the horizon without asking permission from the sky. You no longer tremble at the thought of being by yourself. You no longer interpret silence as rejection. You begin to understand that silence is sacred ground. It is where the noise of the ego dissolves and the whisper of the soul becomes unmistakable. There is a profound maturity in being able to sit with your own presence and feel complete. Not because you have hardened your heart, not because you have convinced yourself you do not need others, but because you have remembered that your essence was never fragmented to begin with. You were born whole. You entered this world not searching for completion, but radiating it. Somewhere along the way, you forgot. You listened to voices that told you happiness was out there, that love was something to chase, that worth was something to earn. And in that forgetting, you began to bargain with life. If I am chosen, then I am valuable. If I am accompanied, then I am enough. But now you see the illusion. You are valuable because you exist. You are enough because you are. There is nothing you must add to yourself to become worthy of joy. There is nothing you must subtract to deserve peace. The divine intelligence that breathes through galaxies is breathing through you. The same force that moves the tides moves your heartbeat. You are not separate from life. You are life expressing itself in human form. How could life ever be lonely? When you walk alone now, you feel the earth beneath your feet as a companion. You feel the air entering your lungs as communion. You look at the sky and recognize your own vastness reflected back to you. You are not isolated. You are interconnected in ways the ego could never comprehend. And yet, paradoxically, you cherish your aloneness. Because in it, you hear yourself clearly. You begin to trust your inner voice more than the opinions of the world. You begin to value your intuition more than external approval. You begin to choose relationships not from fear of emptiness, but from alignment with truth. When you are happy alone, love becomes a celebration rather than a rescue mission. You no longer say, save me from myself. You say, join me in my wholeness. And that shift, subtle yet monumental, changes the energy of every connection you will ever experience. You release the need to control outcomes. You release the anxiety of timelines. You release the belief that something is missing. Instead, you walk through your days with a quiet assurance that whatever is meant for you will meet you in the vibration you are holding. And the vibration you are holding now is one of sufficiency. I am sufficient. I am complete. I am connected to an infinite source that never withdraws its love. Feel those words settle into your being, not as hopeful affirmations, but as eternal truths. There may still be moments of longing. You are human. There may still be evenings when the heart remembers what it once held. But even in those moments, there is no desperation. There is only tenderness. You allow the feeling to pass through you like a breeze through an open window. You do not close the window. You do not cling to the breeze. You remain open, because openness is your true nature. The ego wants guarantees. It wants permanence. It wants assurance that nothing will leave. But life is movement. Life is rhythm. Life is the dance of arrival and departure. When you anchor yourself in your own being, you can participate in that dance without fear of losing your balance. You become like the ocean, once more waves rising, waves falling, yet the depth beneath unchanged. There is a sacred dignity in standing alone without feeling diminished. There is a luminous beauty in knowing that your joy does not hinge on another's presence. And from this space, you no longer seek to possess or to be possessed. You simply love. And love, in its purest form, is freedom. Freedom from needing. Freedom from chasing. Freedom from the exhausting belief that happiness is somewhere else. It has always been here. It has always been you. Now, as you breathe in this moment, feel the stillness inside your chest. Feel the quiet expansion of awareness. Notice that nothing is lacking right now. Nothing is broken. Nothing is incomplete. This moment is whole, and you are this moment. There is nowhere you must rush to, no one you must become to earn your own approval. The journey back to yourself is not about adding layers, it is about shedding illusions. You shed the illusion that aloneness is abandonment. You shed the illusion that love must be earned. You shed the illusion that you are separate from the source of all creation. And what remains is simple, radiant presence. You begin to see that learning to be happy alone was never about isolation. It was about initiation. An initiation into spiritual adulthood, an awakening into sovereignty, a remembering of your divine identity. You are not waiting anymore. You are living. You are not searching anymore. You are being, and in your being, there is peace. So walk gently with yourself. Speak kindly within your own mind. Choose thoughts that expand rather than contract. Let your solitude be a sanctuary, not a sentence. And when others enter your life, welcome them with an open heart, but never at the cost of abandoning yourself again. Stay rooted in your truth. Stay anchored in your worth. Stay devoted to your own divine presence. For the greatest relationship you will ever have is the one you cultivate with the awareness that is reading these words right now. That awareness is timeless. That awareness is infinite. That awareness is love. And when you know this, not intellectually but viscerally, you realize something extraordinary. You have never been alone, not for a single breath, not for a single heartbeat. You have always been held by the same unseen intelligence that guides the stars across the night sky. You have always been accompanied by the quiet miracle of your own consciousness. Rest there, trust there, live from there, and let the world witness a human being who has discovered the most powerful truth of all. Happiness is not found in the presence of another. It is revealed in the presence of yourself. Close your eyes for a moment and breathe. Not the shallow breath of urgency, not the hurried breath of someone chasing approval, but the slow, eternal breath of the ocean, the same breath that moved through you when you were a child, before the world told you who you were supposed to be. You began with a spark, before there were distractions, before there were deadlines, before there was comparison, before there was doubt. There was only intention. And intention is not a wish. It is not ambition. It is not force. Intention is the invisible field of energy that creates worlds. It is the silent ocean beneath every wave. And when you started your journey, whatever that journey may be, it was not the ego that moved you. It was that field. It was that ocean. It was something within you that whispered, this is who you are. But somewhere along the way, the noise grew louder than the whisper. Distraction is not merely losing focus. Distraction is forgetting your essence. The ego loves distraction. The ego thrives on comparison. It feeds on urgency, on competition, on the illusion that there is not enough time, not enough success, not enough recognition to go around. It tells you that your worth is determined by applause. It insists that your pace must match the pace of others. It convinces you that your journey is a race, and so you begin to look sideways instead of inward. You forget why you started. When you first began, it was not about being better than anyone. It was not about proving anything. It was not about winning. It was about alignment. It was about joy. It was about the quiet thrill of expressing what your soul already knew. The ego says, look at them. The soul says, look within. The ego says, hurry. The soul says, trust. The ego says, you are behind. The soul says, you are exactly where you need to be. You see, distraction pulls you into time. Intention anchors you in eternity. Think of the sky. Clouds pass through it constantly. Storms gather, winds howl, lightning flashes. But the sky itself is untouched. It does not chase the clouds. It does not argue with the storm. It does not identify as the thunder. You are the sky. Your thoughts are the clouds. Your fears are the storms. Your distractions are the winds. But the essence of who you are, the divine spark, the eternal consciousness, remains vast, spacious, untouched. When you become distracted, you mistake the clouds for yourself. You believe the storm is your identity. You cling to the winds as though they define you. And in that moment, you forget your infinite nature. Remember why you started. You started because something inside you could not remain silent. Something inside you knew there was more. Not more money, not more validation, more aliveness, more authenticity, more alignment with the energy that created you. You started because you felt called. And calling does not come from ego. It comes from source. Imagine holding an orange in your hand. If you squeeze it, what comes out? Orange juice. Why? Because that is what is inside. If you are squeezed by criticism and anger comes out, it is because anger was inside. If you are squeezed by delay and doubt comes out, it is because doubt was inside. Distraction is the squeeze. Life will squeeze you. People will question you. Results will take longer than you expected. Plans will unravel. But what comes out of you reveals what is within you. This is not a moment for shame. This is a moment for awareness. What is inside you? If you began with passion and now you feel resentment, ask yourself, when did you allow comparison to enter? When did you allow fear to replace faith? When did you trade inspiration for validation? The ego distracts you with numbers, timelines, and opinions. The soul invites you back to intention. Intention is not about achieving something in the future. It is about embodying something now. If you started to serve, then serve now. If you started to create, then create now. If you started to heal, then heal now. Do not wait for the outcome to justify the process. The ocean does not ask permission to wave. The sun does not compete to shine. The flower does not rush to bloom. It unfolds because that is its nature. And you are not here to prove your worth. You are here to express your nature. When you become distracted, you are not failing, you are forgetting. And forgetting is human, but remembering is divine. Remember the moment you said, I will begin. There was courage in that moment. There was innocence in that moment. There was trust in that moment. You did not know how it would unfold. You only knew that you could not ignore the inner voice any longer. That voice has not disappeared. It has only been drowned out by noise. So be still. Stillness is not laziness. It is power. It is alignment. It is the space where intention speaks again. Ask yourself, if no one were watching, would I still do this? If no one were applauding, would I still feel called? If there were no comparison, no competition, no timeline, would I still begin? If the answer is yes, then you are not lost. You are simply distracted. And distraction is cured not by force, but by remembrance. You are not your productivity. You are not your metrics. You are not your reputation. You are not your setbacks. You are consciousness experiencing creation. The ego says, what will I get? The soul says, what will I give? When you shift from getting to giving, distraction dissolves. Because giving is timeless. Giving is infinite. Giving is aligned with the very nature of the universe. The universe does not withhold the sunrise. It does not ration the air. It does not compete for space. It expands endlessly. It gives endlessly. And you are made of that same expanding energy. So when you feel scattered, return to expansion. When you feel behind, return to presence. When you feel doubt, return to intention. Remember why you started. Perhaps you started because you wanted freedom, but freedom is not found in outcomes. It is found in detachment. It is found in releasing the need to control how, when, and by whom you are recognized. The ego demands recognition. The soul seeks expression. There is a profound difference. Expression is enough. It is complete in itself. When a child paints, the joy is in the painting, not in the praise. When you began, you were that child. What happened? You began to look for applause. You began to measure. You began to compare. And comparison is the thief of intention. You do not have to be the best. You only have to be aligned. Alignment feels like peace. Alignment feels like clarity. Alignment feels like quiet confidence. It does not shout. It does not rush. It does not panic. It simply knows. The soul always knows. And when you reconnect to that knowing, distraction loses its power. Imagine standing at the edge of the ocean. Waves crash, winds blow, voices call out behind you. But when you step into the water, when you dive beneath the surface, there is silence, there is depth, there is stillness. That stillness is within you. You do not need to escape your life to find it. You only need to release your identification with the noise. You are not here to be busy. You are here to be conscious. When you act from consciousness, every step is meaningful. When you act from ego, every step feels urgent. Ask yourself gently, am I moving from fear or from love? Fear distracts. Love directs. Fear says, what if I fail? Love says, what if I serve? Fear says, what if I'm not enough? Love says, I am already whole. You began because you felt love. Love for your craft, love for your growth, love for your vision. Return to that love. Say quietly to yourself, I am not in competition. I am in creation. I am not behind. I am unfolding. I am not lost. I am remembering. The moment you remember, your energy shifts. And everything is energy. You cannot create abundance from a state of scarcity. You cannot create clarity from a state of chaos. You cannot create impact from a state of ego. Shift your inner state, and the outer world rearranges itself. This is not magic. This is law. When you align with intention, you attract synchronicity. When you release control, you experience flow. When you detach from outcome, you experience freedom. Stop being distracted by what does not align with your soul. Stop being distracted by opinions that do not resonate with your truth. Stop being distracted by timelines that were never yours to begin with. Your journey is not linear. It is spiral. You revisit lessons at deeper levels. You refine, you expand, you evolve. And sometimes you forget. But forgetting is not failure. It is part of the human experience. The invitation is always to return. Return to presence. Return to purpose. Return to peace. Remember why you started. You started because something within you refused to stay asleep, and that something is still awake. Let the ego tire itself out. Let comparison fade. Let urgency soften. Stand in your beingness. You are not the wave fighting for space. You are the ocean itself. You are not the cloud seeking attention. You are the sky that holds it all. You are not the squeezed orange reacting to pressure. You are the consciousness choosing what to contain. Choose faith. Choose alignment. Choose to remember. And as you remember, you will feel a quiet fire reignite within you, not the frantic fire of proving, but the steady flame of purpose. That flame does not flicker in the wind of distraction. It burns from within. And when you live from that flame, you do not need motivation. You become it. You do not chase inspiration. You embody it. You do not seek validation. You radiate certainty. This is your awakening, not a dramatic moment, not a sudden explosion, but a gentle return to truth. Stop being distracted. Remember why you started and begin again, not from ego, not from fear, not from scarcity, but from intention, from love, from the infinite, unshakable, knowing that you are already whole, already guided, already connected to the same intelligence that spins galaxies and beats your heart. Be still. Listen, remember, and move forward, not because you must prove something, but because it is your nature to express the divine energy that you are. That is why you started, and that is why you will continue. And as you continue forward now, feel the difference in your energy. Notice how the frantic pulse begins to slow. Notice how the desperate need to get somewhere softens into the quiet realization that you are already here. This is the great illusion the ego casts upon the mind, that fulfillment is always somewhere else, that peace will arrive when something external aligns, that satisfaction waits at the finish line. But there is no finish line. There is only this breath. There is only this step. There is only this eternal unfolding of consciousness through you. When you first began, you were not chasing a finish line. You were responding to an inner nudge. It was subtle, almost sacred. It felt less like ambition and more like recognition, as if your soul whispered, "This is the direction of your expansion," and you trusted it. Now ask yourself gently, when did you stop trusting? Was it when someone doubted you? Was it when progress slowed? Was it when the applause didn't match your effort? The ego is clever. It waits for a moment of vulnerability and then plants a seed. Maybe you were wrong. Maybe you're not cut out for this. Maybe you should choose something safer. But the soul does not speak in maybes. The soul speaks in knowing. It does not argue. It does not justify. It simply remains steady, like the North Star in a cloudy sky. You may not always see it, but it is always there, guiding quietly. Distraction is the cloud cover. Remembrance is the clearing. There is a powerful truth that few people are willing to confront. The distractions in your life are not random. They are invitations. They reveal where you are still seeking approval, where you are still attached to outcome, where you are still operating from scarcity. Scarcity says, if I don't move faster, I'll lose my chance. Scarcity says, if someone else succeeds, there's less for me. Scarcity says, if this doesn't work soon, it means I failed. But abundance whispers something radically different. Abundance says, what is meant for me cannot miss me. Abundance says, there is no competition in divine expression. Abundance says, I trust the timing of my life. Everything is energy, and the energy of scarcity constricts. It tightens the chest. It narrows perception. It amplifies comparison. It makes you scroll, search, analyze, and obsess. It keeps you in motion, but not in alignment. Abundance expands. It breathes. It creates from inspiration rather than desperation. You cannot create something sacred from a frantic state. You cannot hear the guidance of your soul while constantly consuming the noise of the world. This is why stillness is not optional, it is essential. Imagine a lake disturbed by constant wind. Its surface is chaotic, fragmented, distorted. It cannot reflect the sky clearly. But when the wind calms, the surface becomes mirror-like. The sky is reflected perfectly. Your mind is that lake. Distraction is the wind. When you are constantly reacting to notifications, to opinions, to metrics, to other people's timelines, your inner lake never settles. And without stillness, you lose reflection. You lose clarity. You lose the ability to see your own divinity. You started because you felt called to reflect something beautiful into this world. A vision, a service, a truth. But you cannot reflect clearly from a disturbed surface. So the invitation is not to push harder. It is to quiet deeper. The ego believes that success requires strain, but the universe operates through harmony. Look at nature. The tree does not strain to grow. It does not wake up anxious about how tall it should be by next week. It simply reaches toward the light, steadily, faithfully, season after season. You are no different. You are not here to force growth. You are here to allow it. And allowing requires trust. Trust is not passive. Trust is active alignment with the unseen. It is the willingness to move forward without needing constant reassurance. It is the courage to continue even when results are invisible. Remember why you started. You did not start because it was guaranteed. You started because it felt true. Truth does not require validation. Truth does not panic when unseen. Truth remains. If you are feeling weary, it is not because your path is wrong. It is because you have been trying to carry it with your ego instead of your spirit. The ego exhausts itself trying to control every variable. The spirit rests in knowing that it is co-creating with something infinitely intelligent. When you surrender control, you do not lose power. You regain it. Surrender is not giving up. It is giving over to the wisdom that beats your heart without your permission, that breathes your lungs without your instruction, that orchestrates the rising of the sun without your involvement. That same intelligence flows through your vision. You are not alone in this. You never were. The moment you align with intention again, you feel it, a subtle shift, like stepping onto solid ground after drifting at sea. The anxiety lessens, the comparison quiets, the urgency dissolves. There is a renewed sense of clarity, not because everything is solved, but because you are centered. Center is everything. From center, you act without force. From center, you create without fear. From center, you move without distraction. And when distractions appear, as they inevitably will, you no longer identify with them, you observe them. You smile at them. You say, there is the ego again, asking me to hurry, asking me to compare, asking me to doubt. And then you return. Return to breath. Return to intention. Return to the quiet flame inside you. The world will always offer noise. That is its nature. But you are not obligated to consume it. You are not obligated to react to it. You are not obligated to internalize it. You are here to embody something higher. Say to yourself now with conviction and calm, I am not here to compete. I am here to contribute. Feel how different that feels in your body. Contribution is expansive. Competition is constricting. Contribution aligns you with service. Competition traps you in ego. When you remember why you started, you reconnect to contribution. You remember that your journey is not about proving worth. It is about expressing it. And worth does not fluctuate with results. Worth is intrinsic. Worth is divine. You are not trying to become enough. You began because you already were. This is the profound paradox the ego cannot grasp. You do not start to become worthy. You start because you are worthy of expression. So if the path feels heavy, release what is not yours to carry. Release the timeline. Release the need for universal approval. Release the belief that struggle equals value. The universe is not measuring your suffering. It is responding to your vibration. Shift your vibration from pressure to peace. Shift your vibration from doubt to devotion. Shift your vibration from distraction to devotion. Devotion is powerful. Devotion means you show up not because it is convenient, not because it is trending, not because it is applauded, but because it is aligned. Aligned action does not burn you out. Misaligned striving does. Listen closely. If you are exhausted, it may not be from doing too much. It may be from trying to be someone you are not. The ego is a costume. It is loud, dramatic, defensive. It wants credit. It fears invisibility. It thrives on urgency. But your soul is simple. It is steady. It does not shout for recognition. It simply radiates. You do not have to amplify your ego to succeed. You have to amplify your authenticity. Authenticity requires presence, and presence requires freedom from distraction. So once more, return to the question, not with pressure, but with curiosity. Why did I start? Feel into it. Not the strategic answer, not the logical answer, the soulful one. Was it freedom? Was it expression? Was it healing? Was it impact? Was it love? That original spark still exists. It may be buried under expectations, but it has not died. It cannot die because it is not an idea. It is energy. And energy cannot be destroyed. It only transforms. Allow it to transform you again. Let this be your recommitment, not to hustle, not to force, not to chase, but to align. And as you align, you will notice something miraculous. The distractions lose their grip. The need to compare fades. The anxiety around timing softens. You begin to trust that every step, even the slow ones, are part of a greater orchestration. You are not behind. You are becoming, and becoming is not rushed. So breathe once more. Stand firmly in your being. Release the noise. Remember why you started, and walk forward, not with tension in your shoulders, but with peace in your heart, knowing that the same infinite intelligence that inspired your first step is guiding every step that follows. You are supported. You are aligned. You are awake. Now continue, not distracted, not desperate, but devoted, intentional, and free. And as you walk this path with renewed devotion, something subtle begins to transform within you, not outside, not in the circumstances, but in the seat of awareness itself. You begin to notice that the need to constantly check, to measure, to confirm your progress starts to loosen its grip. There is a spaciousness emerging, a sacred pause between impulse and action. And in that pause, you rediscover power. The world trains you to react. Spirit invites you to respond. Reaction is mechanical. It is conditioned. It is the echo of past programming. But response is conscious. It arises from presence. It is born from the deep well of your inner knowing. When you remember why you started, you no longer react to every opinion or shift in external conditions. You respond only to what aligns with your inner truth. This is mastery. Not mastery over others, not dominance, but mastery over your own state of being. You begin to understand that your life is not a series of tasks to complete, but an energy to embody. And when you embody clarity, your actions naturally reflect it. When you embody peace, your decisions carry grace. When you embody certainty, your path unfolds without force. The ego thrives on proving. It seeks to convince the world of its value, but your essence requires no persuasion. A mountain does not argue for its significance. The ocean does not advertise its depth. Their presence alone is enough. So let your presence be enough. Let your energy speak before your words do. Let your alignment become your magnetism. There is a frequency to authenticity that cannot be manufactured. It is felt, it is recognized, it is trusted. When you operate from that frequency, distractions lose their seduction. The endless scrolling, the restless comparing, the compulsive strategizing, they begin to feel hollow. Not because they are inherently wrong, but because they no longer resonate with who you are becoming. You are evolving beyond noise. And evolution requires shedding. A snake cannot grow without releasing its old skin. A seed cannot become a tree without breaking open. Likewise, you cannot step into your highest expression while clinging to outdated identities. Perhaps the version of you that began this journey needed validation. Perhaps that version was fueled by urgency. Honor that version. It served its purpose. But you are not confined to that stage. You are allowed to mature spiritually. Spiritual maturity means choosing inner alignment over outer approval. It means acting from conviction rather than reaction. It means understanding that the true measure of progress is not how far you've moved in the world, but how deeply you have rooted within yourself. And rooting requires silence. There is a sacred intelligence within you that cannot be accessed through busyness. It whispers in moments of still reflection. It nudges you through intuition. It guides you through subtle feelings rather than dramatic signs. But if your attention is constantly scattered, you will miss its guidance. Imagine trying to hear a single flute in the middle of a roaring crowd. The melody exists, but it is drowned out. Your inner wisdom is that flute. It has been playing all along. When you remember why you started, you begin to listen again. You realize that your path was never about perfection. It was about alignment. It was about allowing the invisible to move through the visible. It was about becoming a conduit rather than a controller. Control is heavy. Flow is light. Control demands certainty before action. Flow moves with trust even when the outcome is unseen. Control clings. Flow releases. Control fears mistakes. Flow understands that every experience refines awareness. You are not here to avoid missteps. You are here to awaken through them. Each obstacle, each delay, each unexpected turn is not a detour from your purpose. It is part of the sculpting. Just as a sculptor chips away at stone to reveal form, life shapes you through challenge. But the sculptor never doubts the existence of the statue within the marble. And the divine intelligence within you never doubts your potential. Do you doubt it? If so, look gently at that doubt. Do not fight it. Do not shame it. Simply observe it. Ask where it originated. Was it a voice from childhood, a comparison in adulthood, a moment of perceived failure? Doubt is rarely original. It is inherited. It is conditioned. But awareness dissolves conditioning. When you shine the light of consciousness on your doubt, it loses solidity. You see that it is not truth, it is habit, and habits can be transformed. Transformation does not require force, it requires attention. Where attention goes, energy flows. So redirect your attention from what is lacking to what is expanding. Redirect it from what others are doing to what your soul is calling forth. Redirect it from fear-based projections to present moment awareness. The present moment is your point of power, not yesterday's mistakes, not tomorrow's uncertainties. No, in this moment, you have everything you need to take one aligned step. Not 10, not the entire staircase, just one. And that is how every meaningful journey unfolds, one conscious step at a time. When you overwhelm yourself with the entirety of the path, you create unnecessary resistance. But when you focus on the next inspired action, momentum builds naturally. And momentum rooted in alignment feels different from momentum rooted in pressure. It feels clean. It feels sustainable. It feels joyful. Joy is a compass. If what you are doing consistently drains you, not because it is challenging, but because it feels disconnected from your essence, then pause, realign, ask again, what was the original spark? What did it feel like before fear entered the equation? That feeling is guidance.